The wind rolled low across the prairie like breath held too long. Snow drifted in soft spirals, gathering in the cracks between fence slats and pressing against the weathered porch of Silas McCrae's ranch house. It was the kind of dusk that muted even the birds, as if the whole land had paused to listen. Then came a knock, 3 uncertain taps, more apology than demand. Silas set down his carving knife. The half-whittled cedar horse in his palm stared back at him, ears unfinished. He stood, the wood creaking beneath his boots, and moved toward the door with the unhurried weight of a man long accustomed to silence. When he opened it, 2 children stood blinking against the wind. A girl with windburned cheeks and a mop of blonde curls held out a small bundle wrapped in a wool scarf. Her little brother gripped her skirt and looked up with eyes too old for 6. "Can you buy our kitten?" the boy asked. The girl glanced down. "Our mama's sick. She said to knock if we got cold." From inside the scarf, a tiny gray head peeked out and mewled. Silas looked past them toward the blur of cottonwoods near the edge of his property. A woman stood there, arms wrapped around herself, face half-shadowed beneath a bonnet. The way her shoulders sagged, the way she did not step forward. He knew her. Etta Rose Callahan. The wind bit deeper into his coat, but he didn't move. Not yet. He remembered the day she arrived, 2 years back, all white gloves and lifted chin, stepping off the coach that brought her west to marry him. Silas had stood near the platform, sweaty-palmed in his best coat, heart thudding like hooves in his chest. She'd taken one look at him, rounder than she expected, older, quieter, and turned away. "Not him," she whispered. Silas had heard. It was Nellie, her younger sister, who stepped forward after a beat. "I'll stay," she said. "I'll keep the name. Let the town think it was always meant to be." Silas had not argued. He had simply nodded, helped her with her bag, and walked home under the weight of a name that was never truly his to hold. Now, 2 children with her eyes stood on his porch. He stepped aside. The boy looked up at his sister. She took the cue and led them inside, shoulders straight as a soldier's. The kitten let out another faint mewl as they passed. Silas turned back to the wind, toward the woman still rooted beneath the trees. She had not moved, not one step. He watched her a moment longer, then closed the door. The fire inside cast amber light across the room. Nellie sat on the stairwell, frozen mid-fold with a basket of laundry in her lap. Her eyes tracked the children, then flicked toward the door. "Was that?" Silas nodded once. Nellie rose slowly. She was thinner than she used to be, quieter too, and still wore her hair in a simple braid like the farm girls back east. She reached out, gently tugged the scarf from the kitten, and gave the little creature a soft scratch behind the ears. The girl set the bundle down. "We didn't mean to trouble you," she said, too formally. "Mama just needed somewhere warm. You got names?" Silas asked, voice gravel soft. "Emma," the girl said. "This is Eli." Silas nodded. "Fire's warm. Stew's still hot." He turned to the pot, ladled 3 servings, and set them on the table without a word. The children climbed into the chairs like squirrels learning trust. Emma nudged her brother's bowl closer. Eli peered up at Silas, cautious, but took a bite. The room filled with the soft scrape of spoons and the whisper of the hearth. The door creaked open. Etta stepped in slowly, bonnet clutched to her chest. She looked smaller than he remembered, draped in a threadbare shawl and silence. Her hair had lost its gold. Her pride, too. But the bones of her, those proud, stubborn lines, were still there. Nellie's breath caught. Etta didn't meet her sister's eyes. She only glanced once toward Silas, then knelt beside her children. Her hands trembled as she smoothed Eli's hair. "I didn't know where else to go," she said softly. "They were hungry." Silas said nothing. He sat back down, the chair groaning beneath him, and picked up his carving. The knife resumed its rhythm. Quiet, careful. The sound filled the space between words no one dared speak. Etta stood again, stiffly, and moved toward the far corner where the fire couldn't quite reach. She unrolled a wool blanket, tucked her children into it, and rested her back against the cold wall. Nellie hovered near the stairs, her knuckles white against the rail. No one asked what had happened. Not yet. The wind moaned outside, pressing against the house like a child against its mother's skirt. The kitten padded across the floor and leapt into Silas's lap. It curled beneath his palm, purring. He didn't move it. Night deepened. Nellie eventually retreated upstairs, her steps slow, her eyes unreadable. The children fell asleep with their fingers tangled in each other's shirts. Etta remained awake, staring at nothing. Silas carved until the horse had ears. He placed it gently on the mantel, beside another, smaller, older, broken. Then, quietly, he placed a folded quilt beside Etta. She didn't thank him, but her hand, raw and cracked, closed around the edge. The fire hissed low. Silence returned like snow, thick, soft, unspoken. And from the shadows above, Nellie watched the woman who once left a name behind. Watched her curl around her children and shame like it was a wound stitched shut too late. Watched Silas, still vast and kind, rest his hand on the kitten and gaze not at her, but at the flames. The town had never known the full story. But now, under one roof, every quiet hurt was waking. And in the hush before sleep, a child stirred and whispered, half dreaming, "Is he our daddy now?" The days came slow after that. Winter folded itself across the plains like an old quilt, patchy with sun, heavy with shadow. The children took to the ranch like wildflowers cracking through stone. Emma chasing hens in her stocking feet, Eli feeding the kitten scraps beneath the stove. Their laughter echoed in corners long emptied of it. But the house itself held its breath. Etta moved like a ghost inside it, careful, watchful, as though afraid one wrong step might wake the past. She scrubbed floors that didn't ask for it, folded linens already clean. She avoided the mirror in the hall. Her cough, when it came, was muffled into cloth. Nellie watched her from the kitchen doorway, one morning, arms crossed. "You planning on staying?" she asked low. Etta didn't look up from the water basin. "I'm not planning anything. That your children do." Etta paused, hand submerged. "They think this place is kind." Nellie tilted her head. "It is." A silence fell between them like a dropped dish. Etta wrung the cloth tight and stepped past, not answering. The town began to murmur. Word traveled faster than wind through dry grass. "She's back. With kids. Living under the roof of the man she shamed." The general store clerk started weighing flour heavier for Nellie. The preacher's wife turned her head when Silas rode through town, eyes sliding away like he carried rot in his saddlebag. None of them asked Silas a thing. They just watched, waiting for him to fold, to prove them right. But Silas moved the same as always, steady, wordless, a mountain that made no apology for being made of stone. He fixed the barn door after it groaned too loud in the wind. Sharpened the blade on the woodpile axe. Carved toys from the scraps, little horses, rabbits, a tiny bird with crooked wings. Left them one by one on the windowsill. No one spoke of them, but Eli tucked each one beneath his pillow. And yet, beneath all of it, Etta was fading. The cough came more often now, ragged, blood-kissed. She'd press her hand to her chest like trying to hold her ribs in place. One morning, she couldn't rise. Silas found her curled on the floor beside the hearth, her hair matted with sweat, eyes sunken like forgotten wells. He carried her to the back room, his arms cradling what felt more like paper than woman. Emma clung to his leg, sobbing. Nellie boiled water and stripped sheets in silence. Eli held the kitten tight and asked, "Is Mama going away again?" Silas knelt in front of him, voice low. "Not if I can help it." Etta slept for 2 days. Fever wrapped her tight, like the past come to collect. That afternoon, as the storm gathered beyond the ridge, 3 horses appeared on the horizon. The preacher's wife rode first, straight-backed, dressed in black despite the gray day. Beside her rode Tom Heller, the butcher, and a wiry man from the saloon who spoke more with his chin than his mouth. They dismounted stiffly. Nellie stepped outside first, jaw tight. "Afternoon. We heard things," the preacher's wife said, "about what's being harbored here." "This is a ranch," Nellie replied. "We harbor cows." Tom Heller scoffed. "Don't play clever. We mean the woman, and the children that ain't his." Silas stepped through the doorway behind Nellie. His shadow stretched long on the porch boards. "She's sick," he said. "Ain't that enough?" The preacher's wife lifted her chin. There's rules in this town. If you let fallen women come and go without consequence, what does that say to our daughters? Silas's eyes narrowed. Says maybe they'll be treated like people, not warnings. The saloon man chuckled. Ain't your kids, Silas. Ain't your shame, neither. Silas descended the steps slow, hands empty but heavy at his sides. He looked each one in the eye. That woman knocked on my door with nothing but her name and a kitten. Didn't ask for forgiveness. Just a warm fire. Her babies were cold. Tom Heller spat. We all remember the wedding. She humiliated you. Silas nodded. She did. He let the words hang there, raw and round. But I'm still standing. Still feeding horses. Still fixing gates. That's more than some men do with wives that stay. The preacher's wife bristled. This isn't charity. It's a scandal. She's coughing up blood, Nellie said, voice trembling now. Scandal ain't what's killing her. The preacher's wife said nothing for a moment. Her horse shifted. The wind pushed dry snow in curls around their boots. Then Silas took a step forward. I don't need your blessing. Just your silence. Tom Heller stared at him, blinked once, then turned his horse. The saloon man followed. The preacher's wife lingered, her face unreadable, before mounting again and riding out without a word. Silas watched them go. Only when their silhouettes vanished did he breathe deep. That night, the fire cracked loud, and the house smelled of boiled honey and herbs. Etta stirred, weak as river moss. Her eyes fluttered open. Silas sat beside her, elbows on his knees. She turned her head slowly, gaze falling on the sleeping children curled on the rug. You didn't turn us away, she rasped. He didn't answer. I wouldn't have blamed you. He looked at her, long and quiet. They knocked. That's enough. Her eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. She reached for his hand. He gave it. Nellie stood at the doorframe, watching, holding her breath as if the room were made of glass. The kitten jumped onto the quilt and settled near Etta's chest, purring softly. Outside, the storm broke and the snow fell clean and thick across the land. Later, long past midnight, Emma stirred from sleep and crept to Silas's side. Her voice was no louder than a breath. Is Mama gonna die? Silas swallowed hard. Not tonight. She nodded solemnly, leaned into his side. I still want you to be our daddy. His throat tightened. From the bedroom, a soft whisper carried across the floorboards. She's not the only one who came back. And in the firelight, Nellie took a step forward.